Welcome to Father and Son, except I don't know where Son is. I think he's forgotten to turn up. This is our first show for the new year, so we wish you all a very happy new year, which means healthy and prosperous. That's what we need. And I think prosperity will come our way because it is the year of the dragon, which is usually a prosperous year. That's what the Chinese say anyway. Well, the first, I suppose, most interesting piece of news is Wilkie, the independent in Tasmania, has left the support that he was giving the Labor government because Julia Gillard has reneged on the modifications to the gaming poker machines having a maximum of $1 or people deciding whether or not they have to nominate how much they were going to spend before they bet. Now it's interesting that there was no way, because the other two independents in New South Wales don't want to support this change. A lot of people in the Labor Party were against it, are against it. So Julia Gillard could see herself not getting the support in the House of Reps. So therefore she wiped Wilkie. And well, he wiped her, as a matter of fact, and said, you know, we'll have a little trial in the ACT, which is going to be paid for by the federal government. The problem with all of that is that the trial, when the trial's over, we will have had the next election and she won't have to worry about it at all. So the real mistake that Julia Gillard made wasn't reneging on Wilkie, but agreeing in the first place. But she had to do that, otherwise she would not be Prime Minister. So anyway, it doesn't do her image much good, but I'm not sure that we wanted the sort of changes that they were suggesting. I think people should be able to decide you know, how much they bet and when they bet. I don't think we want to have the sort of changes they were suggesting. I think it's important if people have a gambling problem, they go and talk to someone who can advise them. And the Victorian government already do a lot of work in that area, supporting people who are habitual gamblers. So much for that. I went to the Australian Open yesterday on Sunday, doing the Father and Son show with Tom on 3AW. Well, I couldn't believe how many people were there, and I reckon half of them don't even get to see any tennis at all, because all the stands where it's free to go in are all full, and there's still thousands of people milling around. I think they just go for the atmosphere. There's some obviously good-looking sorts there and plenty of people to look at, but it does seem to me, you know, quite odd. If you really want to watch the tennis, you're better off sitting at home and watching it on the telly. Tomic did well. Leighton Hewitt's done particularly well, given his body's the way he had it. He's partly injured and he's 30 years of age. I don't think he's got a dog's chance to beat the number one tonight. But one of the things that came up on Father and Son yesterday on AW was, are Australians racial? I answered, well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I think Australians are quite keen to absorb other races. And I think it's a generation problem. When the Italians and Greeks came after the Second World War, they were all called wogs, and people didn't like them. People wouldn't stand up for Italian ladies or Greek ladies, and there was a racial feeling. But over the years, they've become accepted, totally accepted. I live in Carlton, and the Italian and Greek communities are very popular there, and they've made a wonderful contribution to our country. Now, of course, we're in a slightly different situation. We're getting a lot of Asians, particularly Chinese and Indians. And I think there has been some slurs on the Chinese and Indians, but they're coming from my generation, older people. And when I talked to my son Tom, he couldn't care less whether they're Indians or Chinese, as long as they fit into Australia and become Australian. I think that's the most important thing. My friend Sam Kekovich said, you know, if they don't want to become Australians, and he came from a background of coming out of Eastern Europe, and he's very much an Australian, he said, send them home. And I think that's right. I think the thing Howard did, all these people that want different races to keep their own people in this country is just ludicrous. If you want to come here, you become an Australian. I think that's the end of it. Now, the fourth and final test starts tomorrow in Adelaide. I think they'll play a spinner line. by the time this gets to here, the game will probably have started. I think the Australians should win. Their bowling attack's been terrific. The only chance the Indians have got is in the event that one of their batsmen, like Tendulkar, get a lot of runs. All right, well, as I said, Happy New Year. We'll now be on each week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.